Hey guys, it's Mike with another Gilded Guardians video. Today we're going to go into the July Town Hall meeting. I've been meaning to do it for a while, just haven't had a chance. The video itself is actually about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So if you are interested in the future of Gilded Guardians and some of the, kind of behind the scenes stuff, it's kind of a fun listen. It does get a little bit dry at points, but it does kind of highlight some of the direction we're heading, as well as some of the pitfalls we found and the goals and aspirations of the team and what they're trying to do with the game, which I personally find super interesting. So I'm hoping they put these out, maybe once a month or once every other month or even once a quarter, and I hope to kind of review what I consider to be the highlights. The video, I'm going to go ahead and just cut out, let you listen to the pieces I want to talk about, come back, talk about them, and then kind of go through what I consider to be kind of the more important pieces. But if you do want to look at that video in its entirety, it's available on YouTube on the Gilded Guardians channel. It's the July Town Hall meeting, so feel free to jump in there and check it out. All right, so we'll get started here. I think it's just the intro of Chris Clay. He's the game director. So that's who's going to be speaking most of the time, and then there's another gentleman running the chat. So kind of taking us back to late May, early June, there was a lot of downtime on the servers where it'd go down for 2 hours and stuff like that. Obviously, launching a mobile game, there's a lot of things that that probably are foreseen and a lot of things that are not. I think ultimately my experience as a player was pretty good. I mean, there were times I wanted to play and couldn't, but they did give us the 200 rubies every time the server was down, which was super nice. And I think that understanding and knowing it was the beginning of the game it kind of felt like you were a part of the journey, and it kind of felt like you were part of the team. So I actually kind of appreciated it myself. So I find this to be pretty interesting here. So I played Raid Shadow Legends for way more of my life than I care to admit. I think it was probably 4+ years. And you talk about the day one retention. So basically from people that are still playing after the first day of downloading the game, all the way to day 7 retention, day 30, and day 60. So you can see there's a huge fall off getting to day 60 in any of these mobile games from day one, and even moving through that first week. I personally enjoyed Raid probably for at least the first 90 to probably the first year, because there was a lot of things going on. There was always progress to be made. You're working on getting your characters dialed in, and you could actually max a character out probably within pretty close to 30 days and then move on to another character and then keep working on their gear. Whereas that's very different in this game. I mean, I've been playing for the better part of 3 months now, and I do not have a character maxed out. My account isn't even maxed out. In order to max a character out, I think the current commander level is 100. I'm on level, I think, 83 on my main account. So I do have a lot of work left to do. And the amount of scrolls that I'm receiving and the gear upgrade stones is so small that when you get to these higher levels, it takes so much to actually move forward. Which I think is a little bit of a downfall, but we will be probably introducing different aspects of the game where we collect more of these scrolls or more of these upgrade stones to allow this process to be a little easier. But I'm close to 3 months in. I am collecting T6 gear, but I don't have any of it at level 15 or even close. I think the best pieces I have are on level 8 or 9. And I don't even have full gear sets across the board for all of my champions. So they mentioned they're sitting between Raid Shadow Legends and I forget the other one, but I'm assuming those are top performing. I know Raid is one of the best mobile games as far as performance, downloads, and engagement. So to be that in between those two is actually pretty impressive. If we look at the first day, we're at 36%, where I think Raid was over 40, and then at 7 days we're down to 13, which I think they were higher than that. But when we get down to 30 days, we're at 5%. So ideally these numbers would step up, but I think that to a certain extent, the reason that you're having such a big drop off right now is the limited champions in the game, and ultimately the limited things you can do with those champions. I mean, there's really not a lot of content in the game short of adventure mode and endless. You do have the rush battle, and you do have arena. So I do think after 30 days, you're probably looking at a little bit of boredom here. because I think that they may not be engaged in the community and know where they stand. So they might think the game is pretty much what it is and it's not in development. So they kind of, head on out because they've beaten it or whatever the case is. So I do feel like this number will go up over time as we add more champions to the game, as we add more content to the game, where they're talking about coming up with the guild boss and some other things as well. So I think this number will increase. And then for some reason, there's a pretty wide gap, especially at this 30 days, moving from iOS to Android. So I don't know if that's just, I don't know what to make of that, but it's something they're working on to try to bring that number up. All right, we jump into this screen here. This is since launch, and this is actually as of, I believe it was the 26th of July. So it probably has increased since then. But the total number of downloads of the game is 613,000. The monthly active users is 251,000. And the monthly active buyers, people that are engaging with the marketplace, buying and selling characters or different tokens or whatever, is 13,000. So this is kind of going back to what I said in the previous video about new characters coming into the game. For these 250,000 active users, when Tamamo launched, let's just say 250 ever came into the game, which I don't think that many did. That's a very small percentage of people that were affected by that new character. And even with that many coming into the game, how many of us have seen her in arena or engaged with her anywhere in the game on any level of consistent basis? And I think that is a huge miss. So comparing this to like Raid, when they launch new characters in the game, they usually launch a bundle of characters, and then there's a fusion or a fragment event that allows you to earn one of those characters. Now, it's a grueling process. You got to really engage with the game for weeks on end in order to get that character. But out of 8 characters coming to the game, you can, if you want to, earn one of them. And I think something of that mindset would be beneficial here, where more of these 251,000 players are getting new content, are getting new characters. Because what's going to happen is when 250 people end up with a new character, these people over here did not get new content. So they're going to be pretty bored. So you got to keep them engaged. Now, I do know that obviously your active buyers is where the money is made. But without your community behind you, with your free-to-play players, the active buyers don't have a reason to purchase anything because they don't have an arena to go to use their new shiny character on. And so I think for these folks here, it's going to be very crucial to keep that engagement high and give them that carrot so that they can partake in new characters, and not all of them every time, but some of them some of the time. And I think that's going to be a big piece. The one thing they got to keep in balance, though, is because there's monetary value to these characters, if they're going to go ahead and launch a Guardian today like Tamamo, and she has a certain value because of her scarcity or rarity in the game, and then later on they make Tamamo super easy to achieve for a majority of your active players, all of a sudden her value drops dramatically. And for the players that invested in her early on, they're going to feel like they got kind of hosed in a major way. So that is something that's going to be a unique aspect to this game that the developers are going to have to keep in mind, is which champions they're going to hold on to as completely rare and completely scarce, and which champions they're going to let us know up front. These characters will be coming back and forth into the game. So if you want to invest in this character and that character's $200 right now, move forward at your own risk, because there might be 10,000 of these characters later on. So that's just something to keep in mind, but I did find these numbers to be pretty intriguing. I think 250,000 is a pretty good community, especially starting out. This is about a month and a half into their journey into mobile, and they are doing different advertisements and so forth, and I'm curious when the next town hall meetings, what growth in this space that we see. So later on in the video, we talk about the Act 2s, the first steps of kind of moving, and we've actually seen some of this already come into the game with the guild power trees and the guild quests. So they are moving forward in this space with Act 2, and I think Act 2 is going all the way through, I want to say it was either September or late August was the goal to get these guys done. But you see here they have Guild Boss, Guild Crafting Artifacts. And so those have not entered the game yet. So hopefully that's coming up in the next few weeks. But I'm curious to know on the Guild Crafting of Artifacts if that's going to be more of the same artifacts we already have and more of the crafting materials that we already have, or if they're going to be special versions where you can get maybe lifesteal or shielding or some sort of added attribute to the crafting material, or move on to gear tier 7. I've heard a couple things around the campfire about tier 7 gear, and I haven't found it in the game yet. The guild boss themselves is somebody that ideally as a guild you partake in, and you do kill the boss potentially depending on your guild strength, and then you get rewards from it. And it sounded like those would probably be weekly or weekly engagements on the guild boss, but that would be extra content where you start to team up with folks and really do some work for your guild, short of just dispatching folks. But these power trees are pretty cool. When they're used, you can get added resource or added powers to your champions, added stats, as well as more rewards and things of that nature. So depending on the guild you're in and how many of those tokens you're earning, you can actually get some pretty cool stuff from that. So this is pretty exciting as far as seeing this path that we're on and seeing these things come to fruition. And it makes me even more excited to see the next town hall meeting to see what Act 3 might be bringing us. So they expand a little later on the guild boss, talking about it being unlockable. They are planning to make it a weekly boss. And you aim to kill it, distributes crafting resources. Players must participate in fighting the guild boss to earn rewards. So no freeloaders on the guild, just getting rewards for the entire guild. So that is kind of fun. And then you have the internal guild leaderboard, which will be kind of fun just within your own guild, having that friendly competition going on, who can do the most damage to the boss. So I think this will be a healthy piece of content to enter the game, and ideally those rewards coming in weekly might be a substantial amount of experience scrolls, or big chunks of experience to increase your commander rating, or big chunks of upgrade stones to get some gear pieces, or better gear. All of those things could be a great way to enhance your account, and at least weekly have a substantial amount of resources coming in where you can see some gains. Because right now on level 83, gains are pretty stagnant. It takes a long time to make a small level of difference. So this will be pretty exciting when it launches. So this was something I thought was just a really bad idea. And Immutable, if you're watching, this is a bad idea. So they're talking about the guild leader having receiving the NFT artifacts and basically guild rewards that you earn as a guild, and the guild leader being responsible for allocating that amongst the team. They mentioned there's going to be self-policing, and there's going to be stuff that basically a guild leader that's selling stuff on the side and just pocketing all of the profit won't have a lot of people in their guild. The problem with that is you're going to have new people coming to the game all the time. And their new person experience when they find a guild leader like this that's taking the guild resources and basically pocketing them for themselves is going to put a very bad taste in their mouth. And there will be people that do this. And so you're going to basically tell new players that this is okay, or that this is part of the game, or whatever the case is. And so I think you're going to lose a lot of players right there when they find out that they were responsible for helping to create some sort of NFT crafting artifact that benefits a guild in its entirety, and their guild leader has sole responsibility and integrity not to sell it and put that money in their pocket. I think in a perfect world, it's a great idea. We're all going to be friends and we're all going to get along, but there are going to be people that take advantage of the system, and the people that do fall victim to it are going to be new people that don't understand the game, and that's going to be very unfortunate for their experience as a new player. Not to mention, just as when I join a guild, I'm in the guild. I don't go shopping around for a new guild. I don't do it, So it's kind of one of those things as an everyday player. I don't want to have to worry about whether or not my guild leader is taking advantage of me. I don't want to have to pay attention to everything we earned and how much got allocated to make sure that, they're doing their job. So they do mention they can get it out quicker and it puts less strain on them. But at the same point in time, I just think this is an absolutely horrible idea that will really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. So that's my 2 cents. That's all they're worth. But Immutable, if you are watching this, I think whatever steps you need to take to make sure that allocations are fair and monitored, I think is the right way to go here, as opposed to just leaving that up to the guild leader. I think that if 10% of leaders don't do this, either out of laziness or out of sheer selfishness or whatever, if they don't do this correctly, that is going to be a huge loss in the ecosystem. There's going to be a lot of people having very bad experiences with it. So again, my 2 cents, but we'll move on. I think I beat that dead horse. They do jump on quality of life improvements. I think we've seen a lot of these actually come to the game where they did the multiple tickets in endless mode, just trying to kind of limit the time is required to be in the game. If you do want to run those and spend a little more time in the game, you can, and there are benefits to it. If you have a bad run and you use all 2 or 3 or 4 of your tickets, you basically had a bad run for all of your tickets instead of having, that bad run only affect the one ticket. But that being said, being in the game that much for a lot of us is a lot to take on every single day. So having the ability to speed through some of that is a huge benefit. And I do like that this is a constant point of discussion within the community and within the developers, is keeping that quality of life realistic. Because I'll tell you right now, from my experience with Raid, quality of life was not important to them. They really wanted you in the game 24/7, and there was always too much to do. You go on vacation and it was like you fell way behind, or you spent most of your vacation in your game trying to figure out how to expedite things, which was pretty ridiculous for a game, to be honest with you. So I do really like this about Guild Guardians, that this is a constant focus and how they can improve this. All right, so this is another fun one, kind of a little more geared towards crypto. They're talking about GOG staking and utility. And so we have seen the GOG tokens come into the game. We've seen it hit the free-to-play accounts. In fact, today I actually got more Ascension seals on the free-to-play account for the July rewards, leaderboards and whatnot. I think I got like 36 more Ascension seals, which I think is a huge win. They are doing the Ascension seals in-game right now due to some sort of legal aspect on the GOG token that they're working through. But talking about staking, if you're not familiar, typically staking a cryptocurrency is a way of earning interest on that currency. So by holding it in your account or staking it, you're basically creating a little more rigidity or the backbone to the crypto. And then from there, you get rewarded as that crypto is being used for like the processing fees and stuff of that nature. Portions of those fees come back to the stakeholders. So you could actually be earning GOG tokens while it's just sitting in your account, while you're earning more GOG tokens playing the game. But I do think that this is kind of a huge piece of the puzzle for Guild of Guardians. This is probably what gets me most excited about the game, is that the ability to potentially earn while you're playing a game. It's pretty fun. So I am anxious to see where this moves forward. And this is Gruff's vault. They're talking about, and you've seen Gruff come in a few times, but everything I saw was more about re-rolling gear and increasing stats. It wasn't specifically about staking and utility. So they might have just reutilized this graphic for this slide, but it might be something that is tied more to the GOG token in itself. And there was talk of trying to get this in game so that it wasn't just through your immutable passport, but it looked like there were quite a few obstacles to overcome to do that. So we'll see. I mean, it's kind of fun to see some of this stuff come to fruition after they had brought it up in the previous town hall meeting. So ultimately, there's a lot going on in here. There's a lot of questions, a whole Q&A session on the closing thoughts. So if you are interested, I would recommend taking a peek at it. Those were just some of the highlights that I found from the town hall meeting that I thought were pretty fun and beneficial. It is exciting to be a part of the game on the ground floor level and see it grow. There are going to be obviously some slower points where we're wishing we had content sooner than we did, or new Guardians sooner than we do. We are launching the new champions, kind of similar to Tamamo, and we talked about that in the previous video, where I do feel like we need to figure out a way to get more champions in the game that everybody can get. And so that way we're not stuck with the same Guardians that we've had since day one. So we did launch Oxalis and Tybor. I think it was several weeks after the launch of the game, and they were in the free-to-play Core 1 Guardians. So I think it's probably time to get some more folks into that space. But it just, I mean, obviously that you're being pulled in a lot of directions. There's so many ways the game needs to expand and grow, and the fact that we're moving in a direction every day is important. So who am I to say what's the most important and which direction we should go? But I'm excited to be along for the journey. Hopefully you found this pretty interesting and fun. I personally think it's super cool when the developers engage with the community, let them know what's heading, which direction they're heading in, get their thoughts, give an opportunity to ask questions, as well as care about what it is that we say. And you can see that they do with the quality of life improvements and the things that have come to the game based on feedback they've received. I'm also super excited to see when that guild boss hits the game, and the crafting material and how that all plays out, as well as what Act 3 is going to bring. It's kind of fun to see some of this stuff in the rearview mirror, because I remember when I saw this video day one, when it first launched, I was really excited about the changes they were talking about, and now seeing that most of those changes are already in the game is really cool, where it's like they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're actually following through on these things, and they're doing a great job. So keep up the good work. I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to seeing you next time.